All right, up next we have the BYU Cougars. In 2023, they went 5-7, and in 2024 they were much improved, going 11-2 under ninth-year head coach Kalani Sitake. They ended up finishing number 13 in the country in the AP poll and 14th in the coaches poll. And this was a season of improvement for BYU. They improved by 6 wins in their second year in the Big 12 Conference. Great year for them. They started out 9-0, and they got as high as number 6 in the country, including a 38-9 destruction of Kansas State, who had kind of been one of the class teams of the Big 12 the last few years. They defeated their in-state rival, Utah. It was the first time that the game had been played since 2021. So even though Utah ended up having a rough season, that was kind of a big deal for them. And overall, they were just a very strong defensive football team. They finished 13th in the country in defense, 18th in scoring, and they led the country with 22 interceptions.
Yeah, those rivalry games, you can't really look at the score and gauge how the team is for the year.
Right.
You just never know what's going to happen in those.
After that 9-0 start, unfortunately, they were eyeing the playoffs, and maybe they looked a little too far ahead because they ended up suffering 2 losses that ended up dashing both their conference championship hopes and their playoff hopes. The first was an upset loss to Kansas, who is a weird team that got hot at the end of the year, even though they were really bad early in the season. And then they ended up losing to Arizona State. They ended up finishing it in 2, got them into a bowl game where they faced conference opponent Colorado. Why? That's weird, but I guess in this day and age of much bigger conferences and less conferences, that's going to work out. And they just absolutely beat the crap out of them in the bowl game.
Yeah, in impressive season, pretty easy schedule, but they did win all the games that they were supposed to win, with the exception of the Kansas game, and they did get a win over SMU playoff team. I think that was before Jennings was starting quarterback, but I could be wrong there. I don't know. Not a huge deal. But yeah, that was a good win. And the games that they lost, they were 1-possession games, 1-score games, so it wasn't like any team just destroyed them. They were right on the cusp of making the playoff. If they beat Kansas, there's a good chance that they are in the playoff.
Absolutely. They would have had one loss, and they would have had one loss going to the conference championship game. And even if they would have lost to Arizona State there, they'd already played Arizona State once. So at 11-2, they absolutely would have gotten into the playoffs, probably over SMU at that point. Overall, this was an impressive year for BYU. They were picked to finish 13th and come into the season. They ended up finishing number 13 in the country. So from 13th in the conference to 13 in country is pretty impressive. I did see a BYU blog when it was talking about the season that they ranked this season as one of the 4 greatest seasons in school history. I don't know much about the history of BYU football. I know they've won a national title before, but that's pretty high from somebody who's a fan who covers them. So they viewed this season very well. They had the highest attendance in the conference this year, so the excitement around the program is certainly there. I think it was a great year for BYU, so I gave them an A-.
Yeah, I thought it was a great year for them too. They had a really good record. Their losses weren't bad. They were really close. I ended up going with a B+ just because it was a good season. It was a really, really good season. So their grade for their record, since they were on the cusp of making the playoff, that gets them up to a B. And for their final grade, the Nitro Show 2024 final grade for your BYU Cougars. I like that. I like saying that, Cougars.
not the kind that hang out at Johnny's Hideaway.
Oh, Johnny's Hideaway. Bless it. And so, yeah, their final grade is a B. Not bad.